I'd be curious to hear about monetization strategy and news.
Can we make any money?
A well-worn topic in this building.
And every other media company on the planet.
And everywhere. I think the gist of what everyone's saying is people are spending a lot of time having fun on their phones. They're not real engaged in it. They're just reading the Twitters as they go by, the tweets as they go by real fast. It's all kind of about shallow. And at one point someone said, "Oh, you want them to go deep because that's where you monetize, right?" And so, do you think when you think about mobile, how it fits into a monetization strategy, is it really about getting people to maybe get interested in a topic and then go back on the web where you're really going to monetize it, or is there going to be real news content monetization on a phone, in the next couple of years?
The $6 million question.
I think that's tough because I think a lot of people perceive news as free, right? Like because they're able to get inundated with data from all these sources that are potentially free and let them filter it themselves, right? The trick, and I think we talked about a little bit about this on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and to me, I have a tendency to drive most of my own personal news through somebody else's flavor. Right, so I'll go to blog rolls of people that I have a tendency to identify with, and then when I get the broad view from them, I go, oh well, I'll drill into this, and then once I get sucked into a site, I'll go see it. How to monetize that, I have no idea. Dude, I don't know. I think I just spent like 3 minutes telling you.
Well, actually,
nothing.
Chris, I think you were the one in the phone call that said that you think the New York Times doesn't charge enough for the crossword puzzles.
That's correct. So I bought the crossword puzzle app for the iPhone, and it's $8, right? Which is large for an iPhone game, right? Games used to be between $5 and $10, sometimes $20 on mobile platforms, but the iPhone, in their opening up the floodgates of how to price things and letting people price their own apps, has it's become the Wild West. Everybody's pricing at $1.99, then they drive it to 99 cents to try and artificially spike sales, etc. And I was shocked at first. I said $8, and then I realized that it was every crossword puzzle in their database forever. And I said, well, $8, that's pretty cheap, right? Like $8 is, 4 Dell crossword puzzle books, right? And varying from easy to hard, and I get Monday through Sunday every week for the rest of my life, potentially, right? And when you think about it that way, it's one of those things. Is like products are now no longer standalone because they're digital. So I think the trick with figuring out a way to monetize things is figuring out how to build a trend of money, right? Or some way to not necessarily get repeated transactions, but the perceived value of something is not only what's right here, what's here at the instant. What am I buying? The perceived value is a much more sort of esoteric, like intangible. And I think being able to monetize it is first going to involve being able to communicate what that intangible is. Right. So why is the news important? Why is it pertinent to keep me connected to the world? Why is that? How does that personally touch me? I think that's going to be the key to monetizing it. Whether or not that's filtered through particular reporters, or it's I always know that this guy's going to give romantic comedies a thumbs down, which means I'll like it. It's that people are filtering their information differently, and yeah, it is this intangible, and I can't tell you what that is unless we make a game out of it.
One of the things, I always think that anything that's on the internet, people just assume should be free, right? It's unfortunate, and the reality is that in a business where your product tends to be a commodity, somebody's always going to undercut you and just make it freer, right? So the way you're going to differentiate yourself is going to be through innovation, and I think that the same way that you can deliver all of the crossword puzzles that were ever in the history of the New York Times in one application, that's kind of an innovation right there, right? Because that's a lot of books to carry around and also a lot of access. But the thing is that what you can start looking at is, okay, well, here's the way people use mobile devices, and so what do they do with the news once they've read something. And so there's a lot of people who will read a news story, and if they want to pass it around on their mobile device, because that's the social nature of the internet, the web, and the way we use devices, they might copy and paste something, or they might figure out some other way to share it. But the reality is that there tends to be a little bit of friction in there, and that friction is either, it's cost, it's time, or it's a little bit of a hassle or something. So there's services out there on the BlackBerry, of people out there, BlackBerries. How many of you use Vigo? Vigo's a terrific product, right? And it's one of these things that nobody knows about it, right? It's a really interesting product. But what Vigo does is Vigo is an RSS reader, and they're working to kind of change it so people don't think of it as something very technical, but it's a news aggregator. It picks all your news sites together. But one of the things that they have done very, very well, and they give away the application for free, and they do run ads on it, and the ads actually, they do get a decent click-through rate on those ads, is that they've made it really easy for you to share all of your news. So what happens is there's an article in the LA Times, and you pick it up in your RSS reader. You can then post it on Twitter. You can post it on Facebook. So what it's doing, it's anticipating your needs and making it easier for you to share. So now what happens is you never have to you never leave the application. So they get some pretty cool like total like session lengths when this application is up there. It's on your BlackBerry. Just go to getvigo.com and check it out. But that's a company right there that I think is innovating in this space where they're competing with a lot of other services that they're in the RSS business. Essentially, they're not in the news business like you guys are. But I mean, if the LA Times takes an application and just says, okay, well, we're going to take all of our news and we're going to make it so easy for you to move things around, well, then maybe what we've done is we've created a little innovation there because we've saved you time, which goes back to what you were saying earlier.